All right, everybody, and welcome to The Aftermath. We haven't done one of these, David, in quite some time, covering a victory for Clemson. The Tigers go up to Chapel Hill and take care of business. They're up 35-3 at half. You're already signaling me out. We're not doing Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill will be a very temporary nickname, I have a feeling, up there at North Carolina. Clemson's up 35-3 at halftime. Called the dogs off. Vizina comes in. There's a lot to break down here. But first of all, I think it's fascinating that this matchup prior was so hyped up. There was so much energy around Dabo Swinney versus Bill Belichick. And Belichick's team got put in the blender pretty quickly. David, first of all, being in UNC for this, the Chapel Hill allure feels like it's kind of lost its luster already.
Well, I'm actually writing a story for the morning, and I was talking about how, you were really excited because you thought preseason this might be game day. There was no way that the great Bill Belichick would lose to anybody heading into that game, right? Like, he's the greatest of all time, and Clemson was going to be really good. And then neither of those things happened. And, we arrived on campus yesterday and heard the thump, thump, thump of the Ludacris concert. And, they probably brought in Ludacris and paid him $300,000, I think was the price that I read that they paid him to come in and do that, with the thought that that would be, a 5 p.m. concert.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because it would be a night game between Clemson and North Carolina. It'd be on national TV, ESPN, and, a night game. And instead, Luda's out there at, 9 o'clock in the morning, breaking it down for whoever was there. I don't know. I talked to a few people that went, and they were like, hey, it was great. And good for them. We were just trying to make it in and get parked. And, the thing that struck me, and I want your comment on this, is that a lot of, excitement about the program. The stadium was not even close to being full. The students headed out fast. They had other things that they needed to do because I think they were unveiling the basketball team, at like 4 o'clock or something like that. So everybody headed over to the Dean Smith Center. But I didn't even hear any boo birds. It was straight up apathy. They just, it's like they don't care. And that's terrible for North Carolina.
Yeah, it was one of those things. And have you seen the clip of that student that got interviewed where they said they were at the TCU game, and that's one of the saddest feelings they've ever felt while on campus? And she's like, and I failed midterms before, so that's saying something. Like, oh my gosh, it's bad. And I think that's a great point. Is there was no, as Clemson's up 14-3, and I don't think it's a secret that this has not been a very prolific Clemson offense, and they were averaging at 1.45 yards a play. And I know it was only like a few plays that it took to get up 21-3, but there was no, if that was at Clemson, I mean, there would be fans throwing garbage in the on the field. There would be boos. People would be uttering for.
And by boos, you don't mean liquor. You mean actual like boo.
Oh, I mean, there may be. I don't know, but the standard of what's tolerable versus what's not, and I think for North Carolina, they've gotten shredded in their 2 prior Power 4 games. So there's already this expectation of, man, this team's bad. Going into it, maybe against a not great Clemson team, you can find something. You can find this magic. You're still 0-0 in ACC play. But I think everyone sort of had that feeling very early, and I think that it's very telling that you're basically telling the other sideline how bad you are if the first thing you're running out the dome off the rip, first play, is a trick double pass with Antonio Williams. I think that says it all. I think it says that they think their corners are poorly coached and that they can get them off guard first play where things are really juiced. It's not one of those random third downs in the second quarter where you're like, oh, we got him. We caught him off guard. No, they caught him right off the bat, first play. And I felt like from there, you just kind of saw the sideline go, well, here we go.
Yeah, it's over. And we were talking about pregame. We were up in the press box discussing what would you do if you're Clemson. And we said if we were Clemson and you won the toss, you take the football because you haven't had a whole lot of success when the opponents had the football. And if North Carolina wins the toss, they're going to give you the football anyway. And then we were saying, come out and do a reverse, do a flea flicker, do a double pass, something, during the drive to get something going. I don't think we foresaw first play. But you see Antonio Williams kind of come in that orbit motion, and then the pass out there, and then the pass was a little bit wobbly, but it made it. and TJ Moore just kind of skates in for the 75-yard score. And, another thing that I wrote, and we were talking about it with Toby, I'm so used to the Clemson sideline having 900 people, including 120 players dressed out, or how many ever they can dress out. North Carolina's sideline looked bare. It looked like they dressed out maybe 65 players. I don't know. Maybe it was more than that. But those few players that were there in blue on the sideline deflated, and it was like, this is over. I think it was over right there.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was just that the fans kind of filled in the stadium. Maybe it was 70%, if we're being maybe generous. And it felt like even after that Adam Randall touchdown, the first one, not the second one, which was a great throw and design by the offense there, fans were already 10 out. They're like, oh, well, this is what it is. It felt like orange was present in that second half. The tackling on UNC's end, the effort. We've been talking about effort on this podcast, but man, that I rewatched that Adam Randall first play where Klubnik's dissecting the field and he sees Randall on the check down. And Klubnik's, of course, going to credit Randall for running hard. But I saw a UNC guy like put out an arm like, maybe I'll get it. It's not a big deal. And just kind of shoved Randall into the end zone. It's just, oh dear. What I'd seen on tape sort of confirmed it's a mess up there.
That Bentoncourt touchdown, he kind of flashes open. Cade underthrows him. He kind of has to wait on the football, and the safety winds up getting there in time and then just plants both feet in the ground and stops, throws an arm out like, hey, I'm here now, and never goes to make a tackle, and Bentoncourt just turns around and runs in for the touchdown. And, even on the one touchdown, I guess it was a Randall down the sideline, pitiful tackling, poor tackling. It is a program that it looks like it has absolutely just given up. And, here we go. So both things can be true.
Yeah.
Clemson looked a whole lot better yesterday. It was a much-needed victory. They took the locks off of the offense, and North Carolina might be, if not the worst Power 4 team, one of the two worst. Like, they're
worse
bad.
than Troy. They're worse than Troy.
Well, Troy's not a Power 4 team, so.
Well, I'm just saying in terms of opponents that Clemson's faced,
they are worse than Troy. Yeah, absolutely. They are just not good. But Clemson gets a chance. This is the great thing about it now to keep it rolling. And we all take a road trip up to one of my favorite places, Boston, this week for a game. We get to go up on the Heights, a place that has always intrigued me, a place where Mike Reed calls home. Mike Reed played at Boston College because, they've always been very competitive with Clemson at times, right? There was a time there back before they came in the ACC. I didn't realize this until I looked it up. Boston College, Clemson is 13-1 against them since they joined the league.
Doesn't feel like that.
Doesn't feel like it, right? But they've always been competitive despite having the three major sports, basketball, and baseball and football, maybe the three worst facilities in the ACC in those three sports. And yet they always are competitive, and it seems like if somebody could ever come in and turn it around, they bring in Bill O'Brien, and there's hope. And now 19 games in, it looks like hope is quickly disappearing up on the Heights.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's weird. I think Sweeney had joked about that he was facing the New England Patriots for 2 weeks because you had the Belichick and then Bill O'Brien, who's been the two-time offensive coordinator for New England to various degrees of success, I might add, on that front. I think what's fascinating about this week, and it served as this bounce back opportunity, and both of you and I predicted this offense to sort of figure it out. And it also, I think, defensively was what I noticed. I feel like Allen on the sideline is a bigger move than I think maybe folks realize, where one of the things we've been talking about is this lack of juice and energy on the sideline, where guy makes a big play, there's no one running up and be like, come on, like slapping the helmet, flexing a little bit, maybe a little trash talk. I mean, one of the things Avion Terrell always does is he makes a play and he lets you know. But we haven't really seen that from this group. And you have Allen, and I decided on one drive, Clemson was up 35-3. There are no stakes to it at this point. The game is over by all intents and purposes, although the third quarter just started. Game's over. Clemson's won. And I see Tom Allen on his knees acting like it's 3rd and 4 for the Super Bowl if they don't get it. And he streaks down the sideline and gives, I don't know who made the tackle, but just gives him this big old bear hug and is in his face, in this big energy. And the players respond to that. And I think the coaches were coaching. Sweeney was giving TJ Parker grief on one play, and they're up 35-3. I think I put out on Twitter, if you just turn the score off and the way Clemson was coaching and acting and sort of conducting the operation on the sideline, you'd think it'd be a 17-17 game. And they're really trying to make sure this is coached down so they can go out there next time and figure it out. But it felt like Clemson, for the most part, sometimes you just have to play a crappy team to get your mojo back. Before we get back to this video, we'd like to thank the title sponsor for this podcast, Newton, Scott and Associates. This team is headlined by Jeff Scott, former Clemson assistant coach and 2-time national champion, as well as Eric Newton, a longtime local and trusted real estate partner. These two are teaming up to provide a first-class experience for all Clemson fans. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or build in the upstate area of South Carolina, you can trust Newton, Scott and Associates. Choose the same team that Clemson coaches are selecting when they're looking to buy, sell, or build, all the way from Tigertown to Lake Kiowee. For more information, you can find them at newtonscottsc.com or by calling the number 864-722-9062. That's 864-722-9062. Now, let's get back to the video.
That's a good day to get the mojo back. And, Tom Allen, I had to go back and look at it. And just to make sure that I was right, everybody, he needs to be on the sidelines. He needs to be on the sidelines. But he was at Indiana, obviously on the sidelines. And then last year at Penn State, he's on the sidelines. And this, but he starts out here, decides he's going to move down to Dabo. I think I need to kind of get these guys rolling a little bit. It got them rolling a little bit. I thought the tackling was better. Tackling on the perimeter was a lot better. Defensive line, we saw TJ Parker still have some lapses. Saw Dabo get into him more than once over there on the sidelines. Jaheim Lawson continues to impress. And it was decent for them, but they played a lot of guys, played a lot of young players that was needed, and then a lot of the young players. We got really our first look at Christopher Vizina. What are your thoughts on what we saw at a CV?
Yeah, I think that a lot of folks have been clamoring for Christopher Vizina to kind of step in. The season's over. You're thinking in terms of the playoffs, at least. Let's get to see what 17 has, because you're thinking about 26 and thinking about the moves that are coming down the road. And Vizina essentially got a quarter and a half, I want to say. A lot of reps with the ones. And I think Brandon Rink had put it out that it's not very good. Outside of maybe one throw on the right to, I want to say it was TJ Moore, Antonio Williams, one of the two, where he's rolling out, makes a nice tight throw. Otherwise, wasn't very impressed with what I saw. Sort of the command of the offense, too, something that you look for. They had to call timeout early. I think Vizina wanted to get something, a different look, wasn't really quick to it. One of those things where I think people in the press box, too, were like, maybe it's just because it's the first game, but against that defense and sort of how effectively Clemson was moving the ball down the field, I don't know if Riley locked the playbook down after Klubnik left, but it didn't really inspire a ton of confidence.
No, it was, kind of some of the passes just did not look on point. And then I don't want to judge him off of one game, though, because it was his first, game experience. And how long? I mean, how long has it been since he's actually taken snaps in a game? I would love to see him come out and get another quarter, 2 quarters before we begin to make any type of, observation that we say is going to stick. But it didn't look great. Trent Pierman came in. He looks more natural, just as a quarterback to me at times, and, that he can move the offense. But Clemson was kind of going down there late, and they had the little slip up on the mesh, and there was the fumble, and North Carolina, didn't get they were able to get the football back. So, I think it leads to questions that we will have coming up in the next few months as the season comes to an end and we look towards 2026. Will Clemson go into the portal for a quarterback? And, as you sit here today, you go, they're going to have to. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. They're going to have to. And we'll see how that all works out.
How about Clark Sanderson on the post, making a big contested catch there yesterday?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of these games, is that Clemson, we haven't seen Clemson do this in a while. is you get to call the dogs off and roll out some of the younger cats. Ian Shefflin got a couple looks, a jet sweep. We live in a simulation when Ian Shefflin's getting a jet sweep. I mean, might as well, right? You're up 38-3. Go for it. It's just, it's a game.
It looked like a wildebeest trying to jump a crocodile. It was not good. It was just not good. It was, we were laughing about it in the press box that we know Ian is very athletic, that he still doesn't look athletic in a football uniform.
Not quite. If it's not like, it hasn't really translated yet. I think the idea of him being the big jump box out type thing where you're able to contort your body and make these big catches just hasn't quite translated yet for him. But overall, I think yesterday, and to kind of tie a little bow on this, just because there's not much really to delve into, but I guess my final question, David, would be, did we learn anything about this team yesterday, or is it still, we want to see a little bit more before we go, okay, maybe Clemson's moving towards something positive? So we're not going to be wish casting any ACC championship type of things, but a win is a win. It's a positive step in the right direction. Did we learn anything about Clemson, or is it a sense of, I want to see this in Boston? How do they play against another bad football team? Is it 24-17 in a weird space, or do they clobber another team and things maybe start to be trending in this right direction?
Well, I think I learned that I like the way the defense responded under Tom Allen on the sideline. And again, not a very good football team. That offense is atrocious. They are very bad. But I like the way they responded. It still requires you to go out and tackle and play gap integrity. And for the most part, they did that. And I like the fact that Cade actually stood in there and took some shots and didn't flush himself from the pocket, even though there was pressure. I like seeing that. Would love to see this running game somehow get going. I think Adam Randall has been fine, but I would love to see Gideon Davidson or Eziamume or somebody take charge there. I still think that run game looks just, the timing is not right with Adam Randall in there. It looks slow. And he's not, this big burner back. He doesn't hit the hole fast. In fact, I remarked on one of those plays how fast Gideon hit the hole and kind of got up, and it looks a little bit different than Adam. There's still things that I want to see. So things were better, but, both things can be true. Clemson looked better. North Carolina is just absolute garbage.
Absolute. Bad. They're I mean, it's just, it's bad. It's going to be an unfortunate situation where one of the greatest coaches of all time is going to have a pretty ugly stain on his legacy and this North Carolina move. Ooh, talk about ugly. It's as bad as it gets. This is not what I think anybody, I mean,
there was no knacking on the sidelines yesterday, was there?
I didn't see her, so I don't know. I didn't really know what to expect yesterday. I called for a blowout, and Clemson delivered, took care of business against a bad football team. Sometimes it's been a rough season for Tiger fans, and I think yesterday was almost therapeutic in a way. Just take all that anger out on a bad football team, stick it to Bill on the other side, and Clemson will be heading up to Chestnut Hill here in a few days, and so will we. We got Dabo Sweeney here. As we're recording this, we'll be hearing from Dabo Sweeney in about 90-ish minutes, and we'll have all of that and much more. Guys, thank you as always for tuning in. Subscribe for more. We want to thank our sponsors, Newt Scott & Associates and Chick-fil-A, for powering us through the 2025 season. God bless y'all.